Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Now, let's get into it. The family gathering was set for a Sunday afternoon, which should have tipped me off right away. Dad only called these meetings when he'd already made up his mind and wanted to dress it up as a group decision. I settled onto Mom's patterned sofa, clutching a mug of coffee, watching my brother Eric stride back and forth by the fireplace, his smug grin signaling he was getting his way. Dad stood tall, like he was leading a corporate boardroom, and began, "Thanks for being here. We need to talk about the downtown apartment." He meant the two-bedroom place at 1247 Westbrook, owned by our family since Grandpa bought the building back in 1987. I'd been living there for 4 years, covering utilities and paying a small fee to the family trust that technically held the title. Dad went on. Eric and Shannon are expecting their first baby. Their one-bedroom place is too small for them now. Cassie, you've got 2 bedrooms all to yourself. I placed my coffee down. I use the second room as my home office. I work from home 3 days a week. Mom chimed in, "You could work from a cafe. Young people do that all the time." Dad pressed forward, "Eric's starting a family. The apartment suits them better. We've decided you'll move out by the end of the month. That gives you 4 weeks to find a new place." "You've decided?" I echoed. "The family has decided," Dad corrected, "for what's best for everyone." Eric finally spoke. "Come on, Cass. Don't make this hard. You're single, no kids, with a solid job. You can rent anywhere. Shannon and I need the space for a nursery, and we can't afford market rates for a 2-bedroom. "And I can." I shot back. Shannon, sitting beside Eric, said, "You earn more than us. Eric told me about your salary. You're doing fine." My jaw tightened at the thought of Eric gossiping about my income, which he'd only estimated. "My finances aren't family business," I said. "When it involves family property, they are," Dad said sternly. "The apartment is part of the family trust. Your grandfather meant for it to meet the family's needs. Right now, Eric and Shannon need it most." I asked, "Has anyone checked what Grandpa actually wrote in the trust?" Mom brushed it off. "Your father handles the trust. He knows what's right." I insisted. "I'd like to see the documents." Dad's tone sharpened. "Cassie, don't complicate things. It's settled. Eric and Shannon move in November 1st. Make your arrangements." I stood. "I'm formally requesting copies of the trust documents, the building deed, and any paperwork authorizing the family to end my tenancy." Dad's face darkened. "You don't need papers. I'm telling you as your father and trust manager. Then, as the current tenant, I'm requesting formal documentation of this eviction." Mom's voice rose. "It's not an eviction. It's family supporting family." "Then there should be paperwork outlining the terms," I replied. I left the meeting, their frustration trailing me. By the time I reached the apartment they wanted to take, my phone buzzed with 17 texts in the family chat. Eric calling me selfish, Mom claiming I was breaking her heart. I ignored them and opened my filing cabinet. For years earlier, when Grandpa was ill, he'd called me to the hospital, only me. Despite the pain meds, he was clear-headed and deliberate. "The apartment building," he said, gripping my hand. "I'm changing the trust. Your father thinks he's in charge, but he skips the fine print. Always has." "Grandpa, rest," I urged. "Listen," he said. "The building at 1247 Westbrook is yours. Direct transfer when I pass. The paperwork's filed. Your father will think it's still in the trust because he won't read the changes, but it's yours." "Why me?" I asked. "Because you asked what I wanted, not what you thought I should do. You visited weekly, not just when you needed something. I trust you to handle it right." He passed 2 weeks later. A month after that, his attorney sent me the amended trust and deed transfer. The building, all 6 units including mine, was in my name alone. No family trust involved. I never told my family, as Grandpa predicted Dad wouldn't check the updated documents. He'd filed the attorney's letters away, assuming they were routine. For 4 years, I quietly managed the building, maintained it, and collected rent from the other 5 units. The income covered expenses with extra for upgrades, system improvements, and a solid maintenance fund. The property Grandpa bought for $340,000 in 1987 was now valued at $2.1 million. and my family wanted to kick me out of my own building. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, Patricia Chin, hired 3 years ago when I began taking my ownership seriously, updating leases, securing insurance, making everything airtight. Patricia, my family's trying to evict me from my own property, I said. She listened, then gave a sharp laugh. Do they know you own it? They think it's in a trust Dad controls. And what proof does your father have of his authority? None that's valid. Grandpa transferred the building to me 4 years ago. It's been in my name since. Then it's straightforward, she said. They can't evict you. They don't own it. They can't end your tenancy. If they try to force you out, they're breaking landlord-tenant law, and they're not even landlords. You said they're planning to move in November 1st and packing your things. Eric texted he's helping me pack. That's a legal entry, possibly theft. Cassie, do you want to inform your family or set firm legal boundaries? I thought of Eric sharing my estimated salary with Shannon, Dad making decisions and calling them consensus, Mom dismissing my work needs, and 4 years of managing the building while they assumed Dad was in charge. Firm legal boundaries, I said. Here's the plan, Patricia replied. By Wednesday afternoon, my phone was buzzing, Dad, Eric, Mom, all going to voicemail. Their messages were variations of shock. What's this legal letter? Why involve lawyers? How could you do this to family? Patricia's letter was clear. I, Cassie Morrison, was the sole owner of 1247 Westbrook. No one else had authority to decide occupancy. Any attempt to remove my belongings or change locks would be treated as illegal eviction and theft, with legal action to follow. She'd also sent Eric a cease and desist for entering my apartment without permission. Building security confirmed he'd used Mom's old emergency key 3 times that week. Thursday morning, another family meeting was called, this time in Dad's home office, the mood far less certain. Explain this, Dad said, pushing Patricia's letter across his desk. The building's mine. Grandpa transferred it to me before he died. I've owned it for 4 years. Impossible, Dad said. The trust was amended, I cut in. You got the updated documents in 2020. You didn't read them. Dad's face cycled through emotions. Your grandfather wouldn't exclude me. He didn't. You got the other 3 properties, the commercial building, the Riverside duplex, the Oakmont Strip Mall. I got 1247 Westbrook. Check the documents. I watched him dig through files, flipping pages with growing frustration. Mom, peering over his shoulder, read aloud. The residential building at 1247 Westbrook Avenue is transferred to Cassandra Morrison, effective upon Harold Morrison's death. Why keep it secret? Eric demanded. Grandpa asked me to. He said Dad wouldn't read the paperwork, and he was right. For 4 years, you all thought the building was in the trust while I managed it, paid expenses, and collected rent. Rent. Dad's head snapped up. The other 5 units are leased. That's how I cover maintenance, taxes, insurance, and upgrades. You've been profiting from family property, Dad said. My property, I corrected. My building, my income, my responsibility. Shannon spoke up. But we need that apartment for the baby. There are other 2-bedroom places in the city. I can share a list of similar rentals. We can't afford market rates, she said. That's not my issue, I replied. Eric slammed his hand on the desk. This isn't what Grandpa wanted. It's exactly what he wanted. He put it in writing, filed it legally, and told me the responsibility was mine. He didn't want the building treated as a family resource to be handed out as you see fit. So you're keeping it all? Mom's voice trembled. I'm managing my property as I have been. If you want to rent another unit, apply like any tenant. Rent from my own daughter? Dad said bitterly. Rent from the property owner, who's your daughter. There's a wait list, but I can prioritize family if you're serious. How much? Eric asked. Market rate. 2-bedroom units go for $2,400 a month. That's outrageous, he said. It's below market for the area. I keep rents lower for stable tenants. Dad, still grappling, said, You've been running this building for 4 years. The rental income, you should have shared it with the family. Why? It's my property. I handle all expenses, maintenance, and tenant issues. Why share income from what I own and manage? You don't share rent from your 3 properties with me. He had no response. Friday morning, I returned from a coffee meeting to find Eric in my apartment with boxes. "What are you doing?" "Helping you pack," he said defiantly. "Since you're being stubborn, Shannon and I are moving in anyway. Leave quietly or we'll make it tough." "Eric, get out now." "Or what? You'll call Dad?" "He's on my side." "No, I'll call the police. You're trespassing." I dialed. "Hi, I'm reporting a trespasser. My brother's in my apartment illegally and won't leave." Eric's bravado wavered. "Cassie, don't be absurd." The dispatcher confirmed officers were coming. I stood in the doorway, blocking Eric's exit with his boxes. Police arrived in 12 minutes. Eric claimed it was a family mix-up and the apartment was meant to be his. They reviewed my lease, ownership documents, and the cease and desist. "Sir, leave now. Return without the owner's permission and you'll be arrested for trespassing." After Eric left, angry and humiliated, an officer suggested, "Consider a restraining order if this persists." "I hope it won't come to that," I said. That afternoon, I changed the locks and told building security to bar Eric and my parents from access. The weekend was a storm of family drama. Aunts and uncles called, some backing me. Aunt Linda laughed, saying Grandpa always knew what he was doing. Others calling me selfish for keeping a whole building while family struggled. Monday, Patricia called. "Your father's filed a petition to challenge the property transfer, claiming Grandpa was coerced or incompetent." "He was completely lucid," I said. "His lawyer documented everything. We have medical records, attorney notes, and a timeline showing the amendment was filed months before his health declined," Patricia said. "His case is weak, but defending it will cost time and money." "Do it," I said. The court process lasted 3 months. I didn't speak to my parents or Eric. Shannon sent apologetic texts, but I kept replies short and professional. The family divided. Some bought Dad's story that I'd manipulated Grandpa. Others knew he'd been sharp and made his own call. On a Tuesday morning, Judge Morrison, no relation, delivered the ruling. Evidence confirms Harold Morrison was of sound mind when amending his trust. Medical records, attorney testimony, and the timeline support this. The amendment was properly executed. Cassandra Morrison's ownership of 1247 Westbrook Avenue is legally valid. Petition dismissed. Dad stood, trying to argue. The judge stopped him. "Mr. Morrison, your father's wishes were clear. His choice to distribute his assets doesn't need your approval. This court won't overturn a valid estate decision because it surprises you." Outside, Dad tried again. "Cassie, this is ripping the family apart." "No, Dad. Your refusal to accept Grandpa's choices." "I didn't start this. Grandpa did, for his reasons. What did I do wrong?" "You never asked what he wanted. You decided for him, just like you tried to decide my housing without asking me. I was doing what's best for everyone. You were controlling outcomes. Grandpa wanted someone who'd listen, not dictate. That's why he chose me." The next week, Eric and Shannon found another apartment, smaller, farther from downtown, but theirs. Mom started talking to me again, though it felt strained. Dad stayed angry, convinced I'd stolen his inheritance, despite the court's ruling. The building remained mine. I kept managing it, maintaining units, keeping tenants happy, and watching its value grow. 2 years later, when a 2-bedroom unit opened, I offered it to Eric and Shannon at a family rate of $2,000, below the market $2,600. They refused, too proud to rent from me. That was their choice, just as keeping my building was mine. They'd started packing my things without asking, unaware I owned the property. The sheriff came at 9 a.m., not to evict me, but to remove Eric for trespassing. The judge got it right. Grandpa's wishes were clear, legal, and final. The apartment they tried to hand over was never theirs to give. Now everyone knew.